It's common cause that Siabadinga was operating at Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center. Do you confirm that?
I confirm,
Sorry,
Council.
there was an adult moment maybe. Could you just repeat who the owner was?
Ntombifikile Dlabantu Mabena, Justice.
Ntombifikile Dlabantu Mabena. Thank you, Enkos.
Thank you, Justice. Ma'am, it's common cause that Siabadinga NGO was operating from Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center. Do you confirm that?
I confirm that.
And it's common cause that Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center is a government facility.
I confirm that, Council.
Did you have a lease agreement with Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center?
I did have a lease agreement, Council.
As Siabadinga, that is.
As Siabadinga, yes.
Was it in writing or in oral?
It was in writing, and
Do you have
it
a
was
copy?
signed. I do have a copy, but I don't have it with me right now, but I will make sure that you get it, Council.
Who signed the lease agreement on behalf of Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center?
It was the then CEO, Ms. Nyatlu, and Mr. Rasitzoche.
And what was Mrs. Nyatlu's position?
She was a CEO of the Cullinan Rehabilitation Center, Council.
And Mr. Rasuse?
I'm not sure, but he is in management. I'm not sure of his portfolio, Council.
And what was the arrangement in respect of rent?
The arrangement was when we get the money from the mental health department, that is when we're going to start paying the rent. We were allocated with 4 wards, and it was supposed, the rent was supposed to be 7,000 rent per month per ward, which equals to 28,000, Council.
And when did you take occupation?
We took occupation on the 9th of May, ma'am.
Which
Must
year?
add the year, please.
Oh, sorry, 2016.
Thank you, Justice. And when was the first installment going to be paid?
The first installment was going to be paid as soon as we received the money from mental health department.
Yes. Now I would refer you.
Well, how long was the lease?
The lease, it was 2 years.
Do you know why it was only for 2 years?
The reason I was told is that they would review the lease as we are working. They will review if the conditions or the terms actually of the lease still applies after 2 years. Justice.
Thank you, Justice. And when was it signed, the lease agreement? Do you remember?
I'm not really sure of the date, but it was at the end of April.
Was there let's start with the year. Which year was this? April of which year?
Oh, 2016. I'm sorry.
Was there a reason that you could not use other premises other than the state facilities?
Because of the state of the patients that were going to be discharged to Siabadinga, around Cullinan, there was no other facility that we could get.
The evidence that was given here was that you received patients that were discharged from Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Centers. Is that so?
That is true, Council.
And it was that the reason that they had to discharge those patients is because they needed to open space for patients who were coming from life esidimeni.
That is true, ma'am.
Now, why would then they discharge you to an NGO? Why would they discharge patients to an NGO but in their premises?
I would not really know the reason, but what I was told was that because Cullinan hospital has a certain capacity that it needs to take of patients. So now, if they were taking more and still keeping them under the hospital, then they will be exceeding the capacity of the hospital. That was my knowledge.
That's a bit confusing when you say that they didn't have capacity, because you are going to use the same wards belonging to Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center.
When I mean capacity, council, I mean in terms of the staff that they had in the hospital, the number of staff that they had, they were not going to be able to take another 73 to 100 patients. They were not going to be able to take care of them.
I see. Now I will refer you to file number 7. They should.
I'm just curious to know what was the business of Siabadinga before signing this lease in April 2016?
Siabadinga was operating in Kangala Justice. It had a daycare center. It had 3 centers that they were operating in the same area of Nkangala.
Daycare centers.
Daycare centers, yes, council. Yo, Justice, I'm sorry.
And the daycare centers related to adults or to children?
It was adults, Justice.
And were these disabled adults?
It was disabled as well as the aged, like old age,
And
the elderly.
and were any of them in need of psychiatric treatment?
Justice, I will not really be sure because I was not working at Siabadinga in those centers.
So you were brought in as CO only for the CRC project?
For the project of CRC, Justice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justice. And what experience did you have in respect of the patients that you're going to take care of at Siabadinga?
I am a community worker. I have an NGO that is called Temba Nuken Community Center that we, from 2008, we are doing home-based care, and we had an opportunity to work with Shama House, which is situated in Cullinan. They have mental patients. So
were you personally involved?
Yes, I was
For how long?
personally involved with them for a period of about 8 months or so. I'm not quite sure of the.
What does a
dates.
community worker do?
A community worker works with the community in terms of home-based care, in terms of people who need IDs.
At Shama, for example, what did you do?
Oh, at Shama. At Shama Council, we used to help them with feeding patients and bathing them and cleaning the facility.
On what basis? Would you go there randomly, or were you based there on weekly basis?
We were not based there, Council, but we will go 2 to 3 times a week.
I see. Maybe let's move now to the issue of license. Volume 7, a volume that has been placed before you, it contains certificates of NGOs that were appointed by the Department of Mental Health, Gauteng. Now, I have perused them, the licenses. I have perused them, and I couldn't find any license in respect of Siabadinga. Was there a license that was issued in respect of Siabadinga?
It is true, Council, there is no license for Siabadinga, but what had happened is that the license that was delivered to us by Ms. Hannah Jacob.
Who is us? Maybe let's clarify the us and the we. Who is us?
Okay, to Siabadinga.
Yes.
The license was delivered to Siabadinga, was the license for Life Disciples International.
When was it delivered?
It was delivered on the I just want to be sure of the date. On the 30th of June
Which year?
in 2016.
Was there a reason why there was no license that was issued for Siabadinga?
When Siabadinga was receiving patients, we were having some meetings with Hannah Jacobus, and she has promised that they were busy with our staff and they were going to issue the license.
Who is
But
Hannah Jacobus?
she is I'm not sure, but I think he is a director of mental health in Tshwane.
So where was this meeting?
The meeting, she came to the center itself. It's Siabadinga.
Yes.
Council.
When was this?
The first time she came on the 13th of May before we received the patients, because we received the first batch of patients. No, it was the 8th of May, I'm sorry, because we received the patients on the 9th of May.
So when you
she
received
came.
the patients on the 9th, you didn't have a license?
We did not have a license, ma'am.
Yes. Sorry. So she said then you were going to, she delivered a license for Life Disciples International.
Yes.
And said you can use that license. But
She-
were you under Life Disciples?
She delivered the license because she said they were still fixing it. The reason the license was delivered on that day, it was because the seniors from the provincial mental health were coming, which it was said the DDG and the MEC was coming. When she delivered the license, she took it and she put it at the back of my door, with my office door. And the reason and I asked, why is she delivering the license that has another name? She said the DDG and the MEC are coming. They will not see that it's written Life Disciples. I'm sorry. They will just see if there is a license. So that is how it was delivered to us.
So you are saying that Hannah Jacobus went and issued a license on another organization and gave it to you and allow you to operate using that and to mislead the MEC and the government officials?
That is what I'm saying, Council.
And what was your stance on that? You were the CEO, you're going to run the organization on a license that didn't belong to the organization.
Council, at that time, there was a lot of chaos. I did try to question her, and she said, Diana, I told you that I am going to fix this. I work with these things. That's a quote.
But did you apply for a license?
We did send all our documents
When was this?
to the Mental Department of Health. That was in April of 2016.
You know, strange enough, that license for Life Disciples is also not part of the bundle. Do you have a copy of the license?
I do have, Council.
Can you make it available?
Yes. Right now, Council?
Yes, please. If I may request Justice for your copies to be made whilst we continue
Yes,
with
but I can't resist my curiosity. I want to see, even before you make the copies.
Just as a follow-up question on that one, were you registered as an NPO?
Yes, we were registered as an NPO in 2011, Council.
Now, the other issue,
I'm sorry, and what was your principal area of operation on your NPO certificate, registration certificate?
I don't know if I understand clearly, Judge.
An NPO normally has objects. You normally set out your principal objects. NPO to collect art pieces, NPO,
Oh.
in welfare,
I
NPO,
Yeah.
in advancing languages,
Yeah.
NPO in training young rugby players,
I understand.
et cetera. Right?
I understand now, Justice.
Sure.
Yeah. Our refer to our constitution. Our objectives were to have a full-time accommodation for intellectual disabled and adult person. To have a full daycare facility, a daycare facility for intellectual and disabled person of all ages.
Daycare facility for
Disabled, intellectual disabled of all ages.
Thank you.
When you say that you were running a daycare center, Siabadinga was a daycare center at Ekangala before April 2016. So daycare center, does that mean that people would bring in their loved ones or the patients in the morning and take them in the afternoon?
That's what it means, Council.
Yes. Now, the other issue that I want to refer you to whilst we defer the issue of license is volume number 6, file number 6. Now, file number 6 contains various agreements that were entered into between the Department, Gauteng Department of Mental Health, with the NGOs who are going to provide services in respect of life esidimeni patients. Yes. I've perused that file. I couldn't find an agreement that was signed between the department and Siabadinga. Is there a reason for that?
Can I check the date of the signatures?
Yes.
Is it the
may.
same date? Thank you so much.
No, but the first rump of the question is,
Yeah.
did you have an agreement entered into and signed between the Gauteng provincial government and Siabadinga?
No, we did not have, Justice.
So what will you be searching for now?
No, I was searching because I wanted to see the dates because I wanted to search the dates.
Yes.
Because when we started taking in patients, that is when we were promised that we were going to be given the agreement.
But your long and the short answer is that you did not sign any contract with Gauteng Department of Mental Health.
No, ma'am, we didn't.
Yes. So just to help you on the dates, the one date appears on page 1944. The number is on top of the page, 1944.
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
Are you satisfied?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Thank you.
So your answer was that you did not sign any agreement with the department?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Before and after you have received the patients?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Now, the service level agreement stipulates the terms and conditions of services that was going to be rendered and the payments that was going to be received from the department. So how were you hoping to know what services you were supposed to render without the agreement?
The thing is, Council, during the bringing in of patients into our NGO, it was at that time of pressure. So we were always being promised that our things will be sorted out by Hannah Jacobus and Dr. Manamela.
And you also understand that even the payment in respect of the necessities for the patients dependent on the agreement.
I do understand that, ma'am.
Now, in respect of other NGOs, there were audits that were conducted to check if they had the necessary equipment, the necessary staff, and the audit's report appears on file number 7. I also didn't find any report in respect of Siabadinga.
I would not know, number one, council, who was supposed to come and do the audit.
So was audit done?
No.
It was not done.
Yeah, it was not council.
The evidence that is before this tribunal, in particular of a social worker, Daphne Ndlovu, who was working at Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center, was that you did not have doctors or professional nurses at Siabadinga. Do you confirm that?
I do confirm, council.
And that you also did not have a social worker?
I did have 2 social workers at council.
Were they full-time or part-time?
They were full-time council.
What are their names?
It's Vusi Jensen and Buitumelo
Was it Janssen or Johnson?
Janssen, as in J-A.
Sure, thank you.
And
Buitumelo Mukomane.
And also that the patients, when they were discharged from Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center to Siabadinga, they were not assessed as it would be expected. Were they assessed?
They were not assessed, ma'am.
Why were they not assessed?
We did not, as Siabadinga Justice, we did not have doctors to assess them because of the funding that we did not have or the money that we did not have, and because we were not sure of how much, when or if the Department of Mental Health is going to pay, how much will be allocated to the doctors or to let me say, to the professionals. Justice.
Dr. Mkhatshwa, who used to work at Life Esidibeni for a number of years and who had become accustomed to the needs of the patient, testified yesterday to the effect that it is a necessity that a facility that is taking care of patients of that sort should have a clinician and a dietitian over and above the stuff that I mentioned earlier on. Did you have a clinician at Siabadinga?
We only had 2 ancillary nurses and 2 who had done pre-nursing.
You did not have a clinician?
We did not have.
Did you have a dietitian?
We did not have, ma'am.
Now, how did you deal with food? How did you make a determination of what to give to patients and on what intervals if you did not have a dietitian?
2 weeks prior to the time of patients discharged to us, we had an opportunity of our healthcare workers and our kitchen staff going to the Cullinan Rehabilitation Hospital to kind of get the idea and be given some guidelines of when are they supposed to eat and who on the patients that were going to come to us, who is having salt-free diet, who is having...
So you were using that?
Yes, we were using that, council.
Did you believe that was
Using
adequate?
what? What is that? Using what?
We were using the information that we got from the Cullinan Hospital in the 2 weeks that the workers were there.
And the information would be what? Would be the manner of cooking?
The matter of cooking, the diet, because I've even mentioned that we had, I don't know, we had patients that were having soft diet. So when they go to the kitchen, they will tell them that when we say soft diet, this is what we mean, and this is how you cook the
I
food.
don't want you to detain me. I just want to understand what you say your staff learned from the CRC kitchen.
Can you repeat that, Justice?
I want to understand what your staff members learned from the CRC kitchen staff members.
Okay. They've learned how to cook the food. They've learned again the intervals that they were supposed to have in between their meals.
How many meals were you serving?
We were serving 3 meals, and we're having a snack in between.
3 meals and 1 snack.
Two snacks, Justice.
2 snacks. As you'll see, this is quite an important issue,
Yes.
because you're going to be asked, how did these patients die?
Yes.
And food is quite an important element in this case.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll come back to that. Counsel?
Thank you, Justice. So you learned how to prepare food and what type of food to give to patients in 2 weeks' time. How many patients are we talking about?
We're talking about, at the end we had 70, we had 73 from Cullinan Hospital itself, and then we had 3 that were direct from Life Esidimeng.
So in total it's 76.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you believe that was enough? That
At
was
the-
appropriate, rather?
At that time, I don't know if it was because of pressure. At that time, I thought that we had enough information.
What do you
But
think now?
now I don't think. I don't think it was enough.
Because Dr.
How were, sorry, Counsel, the 73 that came from CRC, how and by whom were they identified as patients who ought to come to you?
They were identified by the hospital itself.
So CRC told you who to take into your facility.
Yes, Justice.
And the 3 from Life Esidimeni, by whom and how were they identified?
The 3 from Life Esidimeng came on the 1st of July, and they were brought in by Dr. Manamela, Matilda Malaza, Franz Toba.
Who's Matilda Malaza?
She's the is she the CEO? No, there's a new acting CEO now. She became the CEO after Ms. Nyatlu was
CEO for CRC.
for CRC. Yes, sir.
And who else?
And Mr. Franz Tobani, who is working at the Department of Mental Health in the province.
And did they tell you why they brought these 3 patients to you?
Justice, it was late afternoon. There was a bus full of patients in our yard, and they did not know where to take the patients. They just said, can you please take these patients, because we don't know where to take them. And Dr. Manamela was making some phone calls. I am not sure who she was calling. They did not have IDs. They did not have identification. We did not know their names or their age. They had nothing. It was just what they were wearing at that time. It was 3 male patients. Male, yes.
And how do you end up with 3 and not all of those on the bus or in the bus?
Okay. The others that were in the bus, they were put into NCAR of Life NGO, which was in the same.
They were your neighbors?
Yes.
And you were given 3?
I was given 3
Did you
justices.
choose and identify the patients?
I did not choose. As I said before, Justice, these patients, they did not know where to put them because all of the others were allocated at the anchor and these 3 were idling. So they asked me to take these 3 patients. I did not just take them. We had a problem of space. So I said we did not have space for them. Where are we going to put them? What are they going to eat? Because we did not have any money from mental health department. And Dr. Manamela said she was going to come and fetch them on the following Monday. If I'm not mistaken, it was a Friday that day. So we had to stay with these patients over the weekend, but they were never taken back.
Why did you take on these patients? Counsel has shown through evidence that you had no license, you had no service level agreement, you had no doctors, you had no clinicians, you had 2 social workers on your evidence, and presumably some people who could cook. You had no money, at least from the department. Why did you take on these patients? What was the game plan? Just open up and tell us what were you doing in order to achieve what?
The council asked me, what do I do? I said I'm a community worker. Not that only I am a pastor as well. I just have the heart of helping, which has put me in this place right now. The achievement was to help these patients that did not have a place to stay or did not have a person to take care of. I did not have money, yes. It was promised by Dr. Manamela and Hannah Jacobus that the Siabadinga issue was going to be sorted.
Did you have the skills to look after the patients?
I did not have justice.
Being a pastor, why did you operate under a false license?
I did not go and sought after the license. I retaliated when the license was given to me because I was expecting to get a license that was written a Siabadinga.
For the record, the license submitted as ELAH 40, 4-tie. You're explaining why you would operate under a false license?
Should I continue, Justice?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Again, I would say, I did not go and pick up the license. It was brought to us because an official was under pressure of her superiors. And I did not just accept the license.
Under what pressure were you? They may have been under pressure, which they've never told us what it was, but under what pressure were you? To take on vulnerable patients without anything that would help them? Why did you do that?
I was not under any pressure, Justice. As I said in the beginning, I think just being the person who want to just chip in, I chipped in in a wrong place at the wrong time, thinking that I
Why
was
did you
helping.
chip in at the wrong place and wrong time? For what reason? To achieve what?
I was just here to help. That was my thinking at that time.
Why did you want to help when you didn't have the means to help?
I wouldn't have an answer for that, Justice, to be honest.
Why did you demand the means so that you can help?
Excuse me, Justice?
Why didn't you demand the means so that you can help properly?
I did demand the means. I did try to knock on the door of the mental health department to help us.
Who did you ask?
I asked Dr. Manamela herself. I asked Hannah Jacobus. But as I said before, the answer I would get, I want to talk for my NGO, the answer I would get will be that we right now are pushing to take away the patients from Life SCD Bank. The deadline is closer. Everything else will be sorted after that.
Counsel.
Thank you, Justice. Whilst we are there, did you have SASSA grants for the patients that you have?
I did cancel. I had 14 SASSA grants.
1-4. To finance 76.
Yes, cancel.
What was the reason that you didn't have in respect of the rest?
Daphne, the social worker of CCRC, was busy with the applications of others. And we had some other patients who did not have IDs. So she was even busy with other applications of the ID documents, ma'am.
So Daphne, the CCRC social worker, was also assisting Siabadinga.
When we came into place, Daphne had already started the process. But when we started taking patients and they discharged patients to us, then it was hands off from Daphne.
Now, other than the 14 grants that you were, or rather, how much was this per grant? How much were you receiving?
The first month, it was 2,800 per person.
2,800.
2,800 per person.
The second month?
It was 1,800 rand.
Other than this money that you were receiving from SASSA grants, did you have any sort of subsidy that you were receiving?
We did not have subsidy, but we were helped by some of the parents. They donated food, they donated some money as well.
Was it sufficient to feed 76 patients and to take care of them and to pay salaries?
Ma'am, it was a day-to-day struggle in terms of taking care of the patients. It was a day-to-day struggle. But having said that, we managed to take care of the patients at that time.
Would you say they were receiving proper food, adequate food?
I would say they were receiving proper food.
Proper nutrition.
Proper nutrition counsel.
And now in respect of linen and that kind of stuff, how did you finance that?
With linen, CCRC, when they brought the patients, they gave us linen and 2 sets of blankets for each patient.
In respect of other stuff, washing machines, stuff that you needed in the kitchen, that kind of stuff, how did you finance that?
We did have those equipments. We got them from Donations Council, and we did take from our houses as well.
Did you get the donations immediately after you received patients, or after or before?
Some of the donations we got it before. Some of the donations we got it in between.
Were they money or assets?
They were a form of assets and food.
What type of assets?
We were donated a washing machine, tumble dryer, a laptop, a fridge. Those are the ones that I can remember right now, Council.
And clothing for your patients.
We got, oh, sorry.
Yes, no, you can go ahead. That's the question.
Okay.
I want to know whether clothing, was there clothing and where it came from?
There was clothing, Justice. We donated clothes from ourselves. Kumi Ace, which looks for intellectual patients, they are in Rayton. They donated a lot of clothes and shoes. Yeah, and then it was churches around. Some of them were contacted by community health workers, and they brought the clothes and the shoes. Council.
And when did you think you would get any money at all from the department?
We thought we were going to get the money around July or August, because that we thought it, and that is what we were even promised as well.
Who promised you?
Dr. Manamela. Yes, Justice.
And did the money ever come?
No, nothing came, Justice.
Up to the time Siabadinga was closed down, no money had flowed to you.
Nothing, Justice.
And how long was that period? From May 2016 up to?
Up to the 12th of July, 2016, Justice.
You operated for 3 months.
Just
2
over
months.
2 months, yes, Justice.
You would not have received the money because you had no contract with the department. Do you agree?
Now that you're saying it, I agree, but at that time, promises were made. So I believed at that time that we were going to get the money. That is why we continued with the program, Council.
Mrs. de Villiers, one of the family members of the patients who were admitted at Siabadinga, Yako Stores.
Yeah.
Do you remember Yako Stores?
Very well, Council.
Testified that the situation was so bad, they had to come up with desperate measures to make sure that their patients, their beloved, had food and clothes. They also had to contribute.
As I said, some of the family members did contribute. I would not agree that the situation was so bad, because, as I said, we did have food, we did have clothes for the patients.
Did you pay your staff?
Our staff was not paid, Council.
And did they remain for the duration of the 2 and some weeks, months?
They did, Council.
What staff did you have other than the 2 social workers and yourself?
We had 2 auxiliary nurses. We had 2 who did pre-nursing. We had 30 community health workers. We had 8 staff that was working in the kitchen. And we had 8 cleaners.
Now, it is on record that there were patients who died at Siabadinga NGO. Is that correct?
It is correct.
How many
Council.
patients died?
During our time, it was 4 patients that died.
What did they die of?
One died, let me see. One, it was Tian Krause to be exact. It was pneumonia.
Tian Krause is a name?
Yes.
Some of
of
Yes,
the of a patient.
Was it a man or a woman?
It's a man, Justice.
Yes, that's the one. And what about the three?
Excuse me.
The three, what do they die of?
Okay. What's the second one? Jan Danike.
Yanni
Jan Danike.
Danica.
Yes, I think it's Dienekr. I might be under correction, Justice.
And was it a man or a woman?
A man,
An adult?
an adult, Justice.
And Mr. Krause also was an adult.
He was an adult, Justice. Mr. Jan Danike was a palliative care patient. This was confirmed by the doctor at Mamelodi Hospital.
Justice, if I may refer the witness to Exhibit ELAH4.
H4.
It's the comprehensive schedule of the deceased.
Yes. But you gave us 2 of the 4 names.
Oh,
Can you remember the other 2?
yes, the other two,
I'm sure council will refer you to the schedule,
Okay.
but can you give me the other 2 names?
the other two names was Jabulani Mhlongo, as well as Refilwe,
An adult male.
an adult male. She was, yeah, he was an adult. And Miss Refilwe.
At the bottom, you will see columns and rows. Right at the bottom, you will see Siabadinga
Yes, I do see.
and the
Council.
names of the patient who died at Siabadinga.
Sorry, council, you've got to take me there. I missed the
That will
reference.
be the second page, Justice.
Yes.
Just the document is not numbered. Right at the
up-
bottom,
up
Justice,
there.
there is Siabadinga. On this page, there are 6 patients who died at Siabadinga, and the 7th one appears on the next page. And then the 8th one appears at the bottom of that page, of the page where.
Can you see what
Yes.
council is referring you to?
I said
You see
Justice.
that, yes.
According to this report, which was compiled by the Ombud, 8 patients died from Siabadinga. In actual fact, it's 9 altogether.
I can see that, Council, but some of the patients that died, we were already out of Siabadinga. I can see the dates which are written here, because at Siabadinga we left in July, the 12th of July. That was the last day. With Frederick's Elsie, during that time, the CCRC already had brought in the the nurses that were taking care of the patients. We were still there, but we were not allowed to be in control of the situation.
Yes, Justice, I beg your pardon. It's actually 7 on the second page, and then 2 on the page that follows that one, which makes the number to be 9. The point, ma'am, is that all these 9 patients died during that move from CCRC to Siabadinga and back. And your evidence is that you did not have professional staff. You were struggling financially, and these people died in the process. And the conclusion of the Ombud is that they died as a result of that process of being moved from CCRC to Siabadinga and back. Do you wish to comment?
I really don't have a comment, Council.
In specifically, the Ombud stated that the majority of patients died from 5 NGOs, and Siabadinga is listed as one of them. And he stated that the reason the patient died was because the NGOs had neither basic competence, and you have already testified that you were not competent. Is that so?
Yes.
And you had no experience.
Yes, Council.
And there was no leadership.
Yes, Council.
There was no managerial capacity. Do you agree?
No, I don't.
And the NGOs were not fit to take care of the patients. Do you agree?
They were not fit because they did not have the resources. That's what I think. If NGOs were well prepared, NGOs were given support in every way, I think NGOs would have been able to take care of the patients.
If NGOs were prepared. But ma'am, or maybe before I get to that,
yes.
Because it's not clear, other NGOs testify that they were invited to a meeting wherein they were requested to submit documents, and that's how they became part of this process. And how did Siabadinga come to this process?
The only meeting that we were invited in was on the 17th of May.
Which year?
In 2016. And on that day,
But you already had taken patients because you signed the lease agreement in April.
I'm sorry, it was on the 17th of... can you just give me time to because...
Yes, you are entitled to time to think through.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Justice. It was on the 7th. It was on the 7th of May, where NGOs from Tshwane were invited at the Hatfield Department
7th of May, which
7th
year?
7th of May in 2016. Council.
Was that, yes, so that was the time you learned about the Gauteng Health Marathon?
No, that was not the time I learned about it. It was not the time.
As Siabadinga?
As Siabadinga, yes.
That was the first meeting that you attended?
That was the first meeting that we were supposed to attend, and when we were on the way there, we were called that we were late by
So you
Hannah.
did not even attend the
We
meeting
did
of
not.
the 7th
We
of
were
May?
not given an opportunity to attend a meeting.
But how is it that you already signed a lease agreement in April already? You signed a lease agreement with CCRC in April.
Yes.
So that you could take care of the patients that will be discharged from CCRC,
Yes.
as well as that will be coming from Life Estetimeni in April,
In April, yes.
before
End
the
of April.
7th of May. Is that so?
Yes,
That's
it
a
is.
bit confusing. Do you want to explain that?
I do want to explain that.
Briefly do so, please.
Yes.
Maybe let me unpack it for you.
Okay,
Why did you
thank
sign the lease in April? What did you want to achieve by entering into a lease agreement with CCRC?
We signed the lease in April because we were going to be given patients in May.
Who told you that you'll be receiving patients in May?
We were told by Ms. Nyaklu.
How did it
as well.
come about?
Okay. I would just want to say our story is a bit complicated. When we came into the picture of the CCRC, I was asked personally, I was asked to help the LDI, hence the certificate for LDI.
What is LDI?
Life Disciples International. There's a certificate that I just gave it to you now. Yes. I got a call in August 2015 that there is an international organization coming to occupy in Cullinan Rehabilitation Center and take care of the mental intellectual patients.
A call from who, ma'am?
A call I got from Sister Ngosi, who is the facility manager at ART Clinic in Cullinan.
Yes, that is an international NGO that will be taking space, yes?
Yes. But this NGO is not familiar with the area. They want to start hiring the staff, but they don't have, since they are not from South Africa, they don't know the how-abouts. As I said in the beginning, I'm a community worker. The relationship that I had with Ms. Ngosi is that I had an NGO, and in the NGO we were
Maybe
tracing.
in the interest of time, just tell
Yes.
us about the Love Disciples. Yeah, you were still saying that you got a call, and then did you get to speak to them, and what happened?
I was asked to send them to find them people who have a community health worker knowledge or certificates, and I did that. I forwarded the names to the center up until the beginning of January, which is now 2016. We did not hear anything up until then. Then around the 14th, 15th of January, I'm not sure, I'm speaking under correction, I got a call that they were interviewing all the people that I have
So
sent.
you
to them.
attended the interview?
I was asked
You were
to
offered
come.
you were offered a job.
I was asked to come and help with the interviews. I was not offered a
interview
job yet.
people?
Yes.
Okay, so what were you interviewing these people for?
For community health workers.
For what purpose
community
in
health
relation
work,
to what we
for
are
in
to-
relationship with the patients that were going to be transferred or discharged from CCRC to this Life Disciples organization.
Yes, yeah, you
Yes.
helped with the interviews. Did you
Help-
hire people?
Helped with the interview, gave recommendations as I could see, and then that was it. I left. The following day, I got a call from the owner of the Life Disciples asking me to come in. And then he explained now in depth about the patients that are going to come from the CRC to them, and they need people. And he said to me, I would want you to come in and help us in terms of being a board member. And I asked, because I've been in the NGO sector, asked
But did you eventually agree to be part of the board member?
yes, I did.
Yes, okay, so yes, tell us
Then,
from there.
Then a week or two later, he came again, and he said he was the CEO of
What is
LDI
his
at
name?
that time, Erwin Wegner.
Yes.
He was the CEO of the time, at that time, and he came in and he said he was going to go out because he was not getting the information from the Department of Mental Health of how is he going to get funds in terms of taking care of the 100 patients that he's been
Did
promised,
he-
and he's going now.
Where does this detail get us to?
Yes,
Council?
yes. I want to find out, ma'am. The question was very simple. You signed the lease agreement in April, but you only got the information about the patients, or you were going to get the information on the 7th of May, and you're supposed to receive patient, you started receiving patients in May. The question is, how did, you don't have a license, you don't have an agreement with Department of Mental Health,
Yes.
you don't have premises. How did it come about that Siabadinga ended up taking patients from CCRC and Life Esidimeni? That was the question.
Sorry, Council, I thought we were done. It came about because LDI was not in place anymore, and an NGO was needed to take the space of NGO.
So you kept in.
I'm
So
sorry.
you took their space,
Siabadinga took their space.
and that is how you got to use their license. So that's what you're trying to explain.
Not at all, ma'am. Not at all. That is not how I got to use their license. The license was brought to me because the DDG was coming. I did not go, or I did not collect the license. It was brought to the office.
Ma'am, just in concluding, you told us today that you didn't have a license as Siabadinga.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
didn't have a contract with the department. You didn't have the skills to take care of the patients.
I agree, ma'am.
You
I
didn't
did.
have the necessary staff. And now it is on record that 9 people died as a result of the NGO having taken people who were in good hands at CCRC and at Life Esidimeni.
Yes, it is on record, ma'am, and I think maybe we should even look at the patients who died. I think 2 weeks just after they were moved from CCRC to Siabadinga.
And you were using the state facilities for the NGO. You were using someone else's license. Now, when you think about all this thing, was it the right thing to do?
I would say in response to that, if I went out and get the license and lied about it from the beginning that I have this license and it doesn't belong to me, I would say that was not supposed to happen. But an official of the Department of Mental Health knew that this was Siabadinga, it is not LDI, brought the license to us, put it on the door and
No,
told
no,
us.
you've already said that. I mean, it is too much of a coincidence that you are also part of the Love Disciples. Justice, that will be evidence in
Yes.
chief. Thank you.
Would somebody give this witness the report, please, of the ombuds? Thank you, Council.